I'm Chip Franklin, and this is Really American. I'm about to show you a couple of videos from Fox News to show you that Trump is in serious trouble. A little perspective first, okay? If there was one thing that Trump stood for, one thing, what would that be?
Build that wall, 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 build that wall.
Immigration, obviously, right? Trump has campaigned on building a wall at the southern border, and he's used racial pejoratives all along the way at every turn to frighten his generally uninformed and ignorant base with lies and distortions.
They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
You know it. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And the Democrats began to see they needed to address this issue, even if the core of the Republican message was a lie. Here, this is the issue. Immigrants commit fewer crimes than natural citizens, and they paid $500 billion in taxes, despite being ineligible for Social Security or Medicare. So Biden came up with a bipartisan bill that really works. Now, this is where it got interesting, and you probably heard a lot of this. What happened then? Trump lobbied prayer porn boy Mike Johnson to publicly oppose the bill to make our border safer, just to protect Trump. It's insane. The insane part is they said it out loud. They said, we're not going to pass this because it's bad for us. Why would we pass legislation that's bad for the Republican Party, even if it's great for the United States of America? That's it. So here's a video of Trump with Fox's Maria Bartiromo, a Trump suck-up of the highest order, and even she pushes back on Trump's opposition to the bill. By the way, Trump lies throughout this thing, and I'll deal with it right after the video. Here it is.
Is it dangerous right now to stop Congress from doing a deal on immigration? Should we be waiting for you to get back into office?
You can't do a bad deal. The deal they're looking at is terrible. They're going to allow part of the deal. You know, they're not releasing the papers. That's always a bad sign. Nobody can get a hold of the papers.
So they're going to release it Friday night.
I mean, why?
The text is Friday
Why
night.
weren't they releasing it earlier than that? Because it's no good, and it's no good for the Republicans. And frankly, any Republican that signs it should be ashamed of himself or herself. It's 5,000. You don't have to look beyond that because it's a very weak deal. But for starters, they want to allow 5,000 people to come on to our country, like on a daily basis, they said, on a daily basis, 5,000 people. That's a lot of people.
Why would Langford be agreeing to that?
I don't know. He's a very nice man. Maybe Mitch McConnell. I mean, he's agreed billions of dollars and trillions of dollars for projects that are Green New Deal. You know, I call it the Green New Scam. Trillions of dollars for the Green New Scam. So that's maybe worse. I don't think there's anything you can do that's worse than a bad immigration deal, and they're doing a bad deal. You're better off not having a deal than having a bad deal, and that's what they're negotiating. 5,000, that's a lot of people coming in. Look, I had the safest border, the most secure border in our country, in the history of our country, and now we have the worst. We have the worst border in the history of the world. There's never been a border that allowed millions of people to come into a country, even a third world country. They'd fight them off, I always say, with sticks and stones. They'd fight them with sticks and stones. They're destroying our country, and it's not sustainable.
Okay, there's a lot there, so let's unpack some of it, okay? First of all, migrants would not be able to just cross the border illegally under the new bill. It would end the practice of catch and release. How many times have you heard that from Republicans? Catch and release. That's gone under this bill. In which Border Patrol agents would release migrants into the U.S. while they waited these immigration hearings. That's going to be gone. So that's an important part that you won't hear on Fox News, or at least you're not hearing it. Instead, migrants who tried to cross the border illegally would be detained immediately, and their asylum claims were decided while they were in detention. People would be removed immediately within 15 days if they failed their initial asylum interview. Okay. All right. Next point. What about migrants who try to cross illegally with asylum claims? All right. This is a big part of this. If this were to become law, migrants who come to the U.S. border at official ports of entry would be diverted to a new removal authority program in which they would have 90 days to make their initial asylum interviews. These migrants would not be released into the U.S. Got it? They would either be detained or kept under government supervision. If they fail their initial asylum interview, they're removed immediately. Okay. But migrants who pass the asylum interview will get to stay in the country for an additional 90 days until their asylum cases were decided. Again, in the meantime, they would receive work authorization, and once their cases were adjudicated, they would qualify for a path to citizenship. This is what we've been talking about for a long time. This is something Republicans have said they wanted. Democrats finally came to the table and said, okay, and Republicans are saying no because they want to protect this guy. So where did this 5,000 people a day coming in that Trump goes over and over again? Well, it's just not true. The bipartisan deal does include provisions that would shut down the border if a certain threshold were hit. But those are border encounters, not crossings. Now, you probably heard that phrase, border encounter. I want you to understand what it means. Republicans make you think that a border encounter means that there's illegal immigrants at a drugstore somewhere in Boulder, Colorado or something. No, a border encounter counts if like somebody comes up to the gate at the U.S. border and requests some sort of asylum, political or economic asylum, and they say, I want to come in. And we say, no, that counts as a border encounter. Hundreds of thousands of people come there. They call that a border encounter. The Republicans lie, try to make it into something else. All right. Anyway, as I just mentioned, no migrants trying to enter the U.S. illegally would be allowed into the country unless they passed asylum interviews and then held under government supervision during that period of time. In addition to all these provisions, Homeland Security would close the border if too many migrants were showing up with asylum claims. This bill will give Homeland Security the authority to close the border if they reach a 7-day figure of 4,000 or more border encounters. I mean, this is solid stuff. A 7-day average of 5,000 or more would mandate a border closure. If the number exceeded 8,500 in one day, there would be a mandatory border closure. And what happens when the borders close? Well, if the border were shut down, up to 1,400 migrants a day who tried to enter at official ports of entry would still qualify to have their asylum claims considered. The rest turned away. Now, so you ask yourself, this sounds like a Republican bill. I mean, this is a major move by Biden and the Democrats. And even ultra conservatives like Senator James Lankford, who Trump referred to in that video you just heard, he's on board for the legislation. Here's a tweet. It's time to stop the chaos on our southern border. We should have zero illegal crossings. Let's act now to make our laws stronger and close the border. Look, so it's obvious that if Trump loses this fight, he's toast. If the Democrats make the case, and they're making it here, they're the party for protecting the border. What is Trump going to do? What is he going to run on? The economy? Let's go back to Fox News, where Larry Kudlow, who has carried Trump's water for the last 7 years, shows a progression of lies to the truth about the economy. And now he admits Biden's economy is killing it. Check this out.
Now, I'd say Mr. Biden inherited a boom and turned it into a bust. That's Bidenomics. So almost surely the economy is headed for a significant slump. Now, it suffered inflationary recession in the first half of 2022, may be headed for a deflationary recession next year, 2024. Look, it was a good quarter. Don't get me wrong. 3.3% beat estimates. And the last quarter was a good quarter, 4.9%. Absolutely. So he gets his due. If I were he, I'd be out slinging that hash, too. No problem. My mea culpa, I was wrong about the slowdown in the recession. So was the entire
I don't think you were wrong.
Forecasting fraternity. Well, the Fed, everyone was wrong. Okay. But
look, Republicans can always count on looking out after themselves first, right? So when Trump starts this slide, they won't offer a hand. Mark this day. This is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump. I'm Chip Franklin for Really American.